This is the Flex Network. This is the Flex Network. Flex on them. Flex on everybody. This right here is the Flex Network. Yeah. Flex on G.
Oh, yes, everybody. We are live this morning. It is the game day edition of the Flex Network, co-comprised officially with at Rosterwatch. This is it, fellas. We are here. Alex Dunlap, Byron Lambert has entrusted in us with the Flex Plays of the Week, the start sits for their show. They're on SiriusXM, coming up here live in just a few seconds. For all of our viewers out there, thank you so much for tuning in. We are the Flex Network. We are just maniacs, man. We love doing this. We love fantasy football. We love answering all of your questions. Please give a follow to at Roster Watch. Good morning. We already have our first question rolling in. Good morning. This is from Manny Fresh.
Hey, you forgot to introduce Shane.
I'm not even there yet. The questions are coming in right now.
Manny's going to have to wait a minute. They got to know who's
Manny, you're going to have to wait a second, Manny. Comprised of the Flex Network is one at Sealy_ Shane. What is going on, brother?
How we doing? We're good.
Hey, we're doing great. Show off that t-shirt real quick. I know this is mainly for the Flex Network. T-shirts available
up, Daniel?
soon.
That's a beautiful
Daniel Upton, what up? What up? Good morning, everybody. Hey, this is an all excitement edition of the Flex Network. And
forward because we're doing this for Roster Watch. It's an all business edition of the Flex
right
Network.
Here at Alan Seslowski, aka hashtag season long says, what's going on, brother?
Did you see I finally changed my Twitter handle?
I did.
Yeah.
I saw that you changed the Twitter handle. We are so excited about that. Shane, hopefully you're getting a Twitter post ready to post the link out as well, just on our page for everybody else to see. Alan says, Lowski, I know you're ready to get the game rocking this week.
I was going to say, for all those, for tuning in today, this is what Matt alluded to before is Roster Watch, which is which is a fantasy football show that's on right now on SiriusXM, has entrusted us, just for the new listeners, to answer all their start set questions. We're also going to have people coming from all over. All our social media posted these links everywhere. So this is a really special show where we're going to get a lot of your start set questions answered. We're going to give you some sneaky DFS plays, and we also want to hear your DFS plays so we can put them in our lineups.
And yes, speaking of DFS, we had the Geek on last week. He flexed Geek, hashtag at F Football Geek, hashtag DFS Army, hashtag Flex Army. We flexed over the week on Thursday night, and that will be the game that we get started with here in just a second. Now pulling up Manny Fresh with 3 H's. He said, good morning, fellas. Should I keep Rex Burkhead in my flex or play Corey Davis? What we should be saying is play the song about Corey Davis.
How the hell should we know what to do? Oh, wait. That's our job.
I don't like Corey Davis at all anymore. I mean, he's like a Geis owner, because if you're the Geis owner in your league, you're probably the Geis owner that was there last year, that dealt with the same issues. Corey Davis never been able to really get off on just in a tremendous foot. He's a great receiver. He's had wide receiver 3 numbers, I believe, in his career, but he was drafted in the first round. And to be the top receiver of his class that year, he has not been able to show out. Says, what do you think?
Corey Davis has had games. He's shown up in the playoffs. I remember specifically, I don't know if it was the year before last, he caught 2 touchdowns in the game against New England. So we know the skills are there. The problem is that Marcus Mariota has just been hurt way too often. He's healthy now. Corey Davis, but it might be a year too late because the best receiver on that team is A.J. Brown. And the most trusted receiver on that team is Delaney Walker. Right. So Corey Davis, I think, is going to be really good, just not on this team. Either his contract will expire and he'll be dropped in dynasty leagues or traded on the cheap. But for this year, he's a really bad player to own because he's too good to cut and not good enough to start.
So, and if you listen to this week's Flex Finder podcast, where we reveal our 3 flexes on the week each, so we give you guys 9 players to go out there and flex with on your weeks. Sexy Rexy Burkhead was high on my list this week for your flex plays. I just think that New England being just a clear dominant favorite on the week is going to pull something crafty. We're going to go for 2 touchdowns to Tom Brady, and the rest of the game's going to stay on the ground. That's how I see it going. Rex Burkhead, a deep sleeper play. Shane, what do you got here?
Listen, okay, guys. I know everybody wants to get cute with Rex Burkhead because Rex did end up, closing up the game last week when they were up big against Pittsburgh. But if we go back to the Rosterwatch snap counts tool, we saw that Corey Davis did have 74% of the snaps. I think that you're kind of overthinking this. If you're going to go and you're going to, you're banking on a game script, which we all expect, right? But every single week, the Patriots play their Patriots games, right? You never know in any given week who is going to actually be running it. Damian Harris looks like is going to be active with Brandon Bolden out. How do we know that Bill doesn't want to test out his young rookie and see what he can do to close out a game? We just don't know. Whereas Corey Davis, yes, I 100% agree. Like, I'm all in on A.J. Brown. And, he had a couple big plays last week, whereas Corey Davis got the big goose egg. But I think that they want to fix that. He's still the number 1 wide receiver on that team. Looking at spottrack.com, this year he's making $8 million. I think that you're still going to want to get your number 1 wide receiver in the game. And I think that you're being too cute. You're gambling. I mean, I would say 75% chance that Corey Davis outproduces Rex Burkhead. So you're kind of playing with fire. Anytime that you're banking on like the 3rd running back or is he the 4th running back in that New England backfield, I think you're getting dicey, man. I'm starting Corey Davis here.
Is Damian Harris active today, by the way?
Well, we won't know yet, right? For another hour and a half.
Okay, because that would change. If he is active, that would change my mind. That would really steer me off of Burkhead.
Well, Brandon Bolden's out. They confirmed
he's a special teams guy. He's mostly a special.
No, but means like Damian Harris wasn't active last week, right? Like he was an inactive. Whereas if Damian Harris is active this week, and I think that they're going to want to use him, honestly. And I think that there's just risk, man. There's like a lot of risk. There's a lot of freaking running backs in that New England backfield. And I just think that you're risking it too much. Whereas, Marcus Mariota, for all intents and purposes, is healthy right now. And Corey Davis is still his number 1 wide receiver on that team. So I would go back to the well. I don't think that you're going to look like they went to the game tape last week and they realized, shit, Corey Davis had 0 receptions. And that's a problem. I think that if the Titans want to continue to win, they got to get Corey Davis involved.
Well, let me tell you about what is not a problem. Is some of our decisions on who we would start on the week. And we base those decisions upon being pro members at Rosterwatch. They have a lovely tool called the Ultimate Matchup Tool. If you go on there, they give you the betting lines. They give you their proprietary metrics on what the defenses, each of these offenses are facing. This week, New England has literally the best matchup across the board against the Miami Dolphins as the number 1 play for fantasy quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, and tight ends against. Also, they are in deep with the bookies. They have guys throwing in Vegas props to them. They turn around and give you the idea of those props. So we have at the very top of the list 4 tight ends of the first 5 are at the top of the list for projected scoring and maximum value. And right there is Delaney Walker at number 4 with a 3.07 max value, which means for what you can get him in DFS, which is $3,500, the guy's projected to score 10.76 points. And that's based on Vegas. So Vegas thinks he's going to go for at least 10 points, but he's got a touchdown odd of plus 185. So he's going to catch a touchdown. He's potentially going to be their premier receiver in that offense.
Hey, just to tell what the Vegas tool, what plus 185 means is he's a slight underdog to catch a TD. A minus 185 would mean he was a favorite. So, but still,
right. Okay.
Right. So, but I'm saying, what is Delaney's yardage and reception total there on the Vegas?
Delaney's 4 receptions for 46.5 yards, totaling 10.76 PPR points.
Right.
With you said a favorite or not a favorite?
Well, a plus 185 means he's a slight underdog. Means that
underdog to get a touch. Okay.
Yeah, he's about So that's why you're not seeing the full 6 awarded. You see the 4 for 46 is 8.4 PPR points. And then what you're seeing there is the odds baked in for a touchdown is only giving him an extra 2 points, which brings him to 10. So what's so useful, just to back it up for a second about the Vegas tool, is what player props are the median projections of how players will do based on, all their algorithms and spreadsheets. And again, those are 50th percentile outcomes. And, Vegas didn't build palaces getting these things wrong. So they're a good guide to really match up with what, based on the pricing in all the daily fantasy sites. So those median projections shouldn't be used as a Bible, more as a guide. And that, again, that's a pretty that's a modest prop for Delaney, but based on his cost in DFS, it makes him someone that's in play to use in daily, especially if you're because what we saw last week is that he can outperform that prop pretty easily.
Big Daddy Kane here. Who should I start in my flex? John Brown, Kenny G, or Terry McLaurin? He's got John Brown starting right now. We're going to go right over to the Rosterwatch matchup tool. And I'm going to say, since you're starting John Brown, we're going to start there. And he has, Rosterwatch has the wide receiver matchup as the 6th best matchup for wide receivers going against New England. We are going to go ahead and go over to Detroit, who has the 22nd worst matchup for wide receivers on the week. And then who is it? Terry McLaurin. We're going to go to Washington.
Isn't Buffalo playing the Giants today?
They are, yeah.
Giants. That's what I'm saying, with the 6th best matchup on the week. And then you got his other 2 flex plays are going to be against the 22 worst matchup, one of the worst, and then the Washington Redskins going against Dallas, which is the 27th worst. For me, it's wheels up for Smokey John Brown.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to hear what Shane says, but Kenny Golladay, I'm scratching him off right now. I need to, especially if I don't need to use him. You probably in most leagues. Go ahead, Shane.
Well, I mean, all indications are that Casey Hayward is going to be the one covering Kenny Golladay, and that he could be suffocating when he's out there, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I would lean towards John Brown, who could get the upside play. I mean, freaking Matt Patricia, he's gonna swindle you, man. This Kerryon Johnson bullshit, like just give him the damn ball. But I don't know, with TJ Hawkinson there, I think that the Hawks going to become the number 1 target of Matt Stafford in that offense, which kills me and my Kenny Golladay dynasty shares, but I think it's a reality.
Yeah, I'm not sure Kenny Golladay is great. That's all. And if you drafted him in the 5th round, most people are going to have to start him. But I agree with you. John Brown got 10 targets. If that happens again, he's kind of in the same situation as Terry McLaurin, where he's been around the league. He's never been a 10-target guy. Is that an aberration, or is this going to be a continued is it a perfect match with Josh Allen's skill set? McLaurin, yeah, it's a rookie, and we're kind of not sure. We haven't seen it yet, but he is the de facto number 1 in that team. And I think he's going to walk into 130 targets, which means he's going to get 8 to 12 a game.
McLaurin with 130 targets on the year. That's a flex call. Woo! That's a huge flex.
I don't even think it's that
gosh. It's just, we're getting so flexy-rexy this morning. Okay, here we go. Brad Taylor, we have Mark Andrews or Vance McDonald. Vance McDonald putting up an absolute stinker last week. But Mark Andrews, now, again, we're going to harken back to Rosterwatch here. which has their snap counts, targets, and touches tool, which is a very great tool. I'm just going to go right over to the Baltimore Ravens game from last week, and I'm going to see here that Mark Andrews was targeted, a team lead, 8 targets, and he caught all 8 of them for 108 yards and 1 touchdown. But what is a little concerning, guys, are you not concerned about this? Mark Andrews with only a 42% snap share. Hayden Hurst and Nick Boyle with both a 56% snap share, essentially saying that the Ravens went 2 tight end for over half of the game, and Mark Andrews, if he was on the field, I mean, geez, that was essentially just in the times that Hayden Hurst and Nick Boyle weren't there. But man, Mark Andrews showed out. Are we a little goosey potentially about his snap share this week? Or are we going in on Mark Andrews over Vance McDonald?
I think you got to go in on Mark Andrews over here. I mean, look, we saw what they did last week. Like they're playing the Arizona Cardinals, and I think that he's going to go off this week. Like he's just such a beast. The reason that he only has a 42% snap share is because he's not a move. I mean, he's a move tight end, right? He's not going to be blocking run plays, which means that when he's on the field, they want to throw in the ball. And I think that, man, it's wheels up for Mark Andrews. Al, we were talking about earlier this week that, if we redrafted again this week, who would be some of the top tight ends? I mean, I think Mark Andrews would catapult probably in that top 5 conversation easily. Yeah, with OJ Howard and Hunter Henry both disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, well, Hunter disappointing.
Disappointing. It's for different reasons, but
yeah, I've heard people talking about. Yeah, I'm gonna on last night. People talking about like I'll hold Hunter Henry as long as I can. That's an automatic cut, dude. If you have Hunter Henry, drop him. But get back to the Mark Andrews versus Vance McDonald. Here's the good news for Vance McDonald. Okay, that they didn't use him a lot last week, and they lost. They lost bad. So they're going to adjust their game plan. Vance McDonald, we know when he does get targeted, that he's productive with the football. I wouldn't be surprised if Vance has a really good game today, but like you just said and you alluded to before, Mark Andrews is the choice target of Lamar Jackson, even though he did score the touchdown from RG3 last week. Mark Andrews is the locked-in top 6 tight end. You start him over Vance McDonald. And you just said it before. If we redrafted today, you would see Mark Andrews going in that same spot Hunter Henry was previously going in, that fifth round spot.
Yep, absolutely.
100%. And Mark Andrews is a beast. He's a wolf. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing. According to the snap shares, he's the 3rd tight end on that team. He's a wolf.
6'5", 256 pounds. That's a pretty damn big sheep, Matt.
And he plays well. Another tight end question here. Daniel Upton, what's up, brother? Good morning. Njoku or rock out with your hawk out? And here's the thing. We're going Hawkinson all day today here in the Week 2 Game Day edition of the Flex Network Start Sits, comprised also with at Rosterwatch. Follow those guys. They're on SiriusXM literally right now. Right now. We're going Hawkinson today. I mean, it's far and away clear. Especially the way Byron Lambert talks about it. Hawkinson is potentially the number 1 receiver. He is the number 1 receiver on the Detroit Lions offense. Says, are you rocking out with your hawk out this week?
Gronkinson. I mean, that's my favorite nickname. Yeah, I mean, you got to love what you saw from the game 1 tight end. I wouldn't be surprised actually if he had a bad game. He is a rookie. Let's keep that in mind. I mean, we're really excited about him for long term, and we are for the season. I mean, I told you I was an all-in fab guy for him, but just Detroit is not a good football team in general, and we don't trust the coach. They can end up going, a CJ Anderson 20 carry game at any point, and Hawkinson, it just could disappear. Now, that said, I still like him over Njoku, but as I told you earlier in an earlier podcast, I had a scout, a friend of mine that went to every single Browns preseason practice, and every time they got in close, they weren't really running the ball; they were passing it. And who was the main target? First read in the red zone was David Njoku. So I expect David Njoku to be a touchdown machine this year, and I do believe he did score in week 1. I can see a situation where he was being drafted in like the 8th to 11th round in most drafts. I wouldn't be surprised if he cracks double-digit touchdowns. In fact, I almost expect it.
Says your voice is so great. Can you just say Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice 3 times, but say it with David Njoku, David Njoku.
David Njoku, David Njoku, David Njoku.
Not Njoku, Njoku.
David Njoku, David Njoku, David Njoku.
This is a tough one. So are you going Njoku over Hawk? Or are we rolling Hawk?
Okay,
We're
well,
rolling Hawk.
let's look at the roster watch matchup tool real quick. And this is what might give you a little bit of pause. So Detroit against the LA Chargers, it's a 30th ranked tight end matchup, which is obviously tough. Whereas David Njoku is a 22nd, 22 toughest matchup, meaning
so
that
both of them are really, I mean, it's the defenses they're playing against that don't necessarily help these guys. Now here's the thing, in their snap counts though, David Njoku, 90% snap share, but only 6 targets. I mean, if those targets bump up to 8 or 9 and he catches 80% of them, he did go for a touchdown last week. That might be a little bit tougher than I think, but I think we're going to roll out Hawk, right?
Yeah,
Hawk?
yeah, definitely Hawk because he's more projectable with yardage. But I just think that at any given week, if you have to start David Njoku, that it's okay because he's never going to get more than 4 to 6 targets. But the other side is those targets are going to be high value red zone targets.
All right, moving on, guys.
Just real quick before we move on here. What are your thoughts on if both players come out and put up another pretty decent performance, go and trying to trade one of these guys? Who do you think's got the bigger name value? What could you get more for? TJ Hawkinson?
Yeah, he's sexy.
He's sexy right now. And David Njoku has not had a great start to his career from a fantasy perspective. But if they both put up numbers, I think that you would be better suited. Otherwise, you'll be dealing with this question every single week to try to get, maybe try to package like a receiver with Njoku or running back with Njoku and try to get an upgrade somewhere.
Says?
I mean, I like having 2 usable tight ends. They're such a hard commodity. I would hold them until you're unless you get an offer where you're making $1.20 on a dollar.
That's fair enough.
Allen in the wide receiver 3, Christopher Canelo. What's up, brother? Good morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. Wide receiver 3 spot, we have Allen Robinson or Tyrell Gazelle Williams.
This guy's loaded.
And as much as I love both of these players, which I really do, I think all wheels up this week for Tyrell. He's going against Kansas City, which that you have to score 40 points a week to beat Kansas City. I mean, it's just kind of the idea or the ambiance going into every week where you have to play against Kansas City as an NFL offense. Also, guys, think about this. It's an end of an era. End of an era today. Today will be the last time that an NFL game will be played on a half baseball field. Okay? Today will be the last time. The next time the Oakland Raiders are at home playing a game, the baseball season will be over. They will stretch out 100 yards of actual grass. They are prepped and ready. This is an end of an era. I heard so many people talking about it. These NFL players have got to be just burly men. They were describing about how when the guys played on the turf himself or on the field himself, he said, man, baseball players get to use real metal spikes. NFL players, they only have those plastic spikes on that ground, which is a hardened ground. They're slipping all over the place. They say that it's quite honest, a conundrum on how the NFL let the guys play in a field like that for so long. So again, today's the last game playing on that turf. And I think that all the mystique and all the buzz and all the negativity around your Oakland Raiders, they sure came out and played pretty damn well last week. I look forward to them again targeting Tyrell Williams. Tyrell Williams has the biggest chip on his shoulder, having to go out and show out like that, being hailed as a number 2 receiver his entire career. I mean, the guy has never really got the stake to fame as a true number 1 guy. We get to see it here. I'm going Tyrell Williams, even though we flexed last week with Allen Robinson. Sealy_Shane, you got anything to add to that, brother?
Well, when in doubt, I want to go and I want to defer to, I go to rosterwatch.com with my pro membership. And I go and I look at the matchup tool, and I'm just going to look at the over-unders, which is one of the fantastic parts of this tool. And you look at the over/under with that Chicago game, and it's 40 freaking points, which to me is like, ooh, you're kind of praying that he's going to get a touchdown. Whereas you look at that Oakland KC game, and it's the over/under 53 points. I mean, we saw what he did last week. Just we go to playerprofiler.com, which is where we like to look at all of our player stats. And you just look at that bar graph, baby. It's a beautiful thing. He's now the number 1 wide receiver. I don't know what more he could have done last week to make us worry about it. And I think let's chase the points, man. Let's go after Tyrell. Let's flex.
We flex. Let's just solve this, Says, and say we're flexing Tyrell this week.
Yeah, I mean, Allen Robinson is a wide receiver 1 in fantasy for the rest of the season. I just, the Chicago is playing who today? It slipped my mind for a second. Chicago is matched up against
Chicago.
Green Bay.
Yeah,
Green Bay, right? Yeah, I actually expect that game to be another low. No, that was
they're
last
playing
week.
Denver.
Denver.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Green Bay last week.
I expect that to be an ugly game. Allen Robinson has proved, though, even with poor quarterback play. I mean, he was a wide receiver 1 with Blake Bortles. I mean, this is basically his hard. Mitch Trubisky so far has shown that he's really good for fantasy in spots, but as reality QB, it's a little rough. Tyrell, the Gazelle, man. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that Derek Carr was considered an MVP candidate, and Tyrell showed when he was with the Chargers that when Keenan Allen was out, he could post top 15 wide receiver numbers. This is a great matchup for Tyrell. I would not want to make this decision, but I think Allen Robinson probably has a safer perceived floor because he was the number 1 option. But Tyrell Williams is in a pinball game today. So at the end of the day, I'm rolling Tyrell.
Okay.
Tyrell.
I just want to put a bow on this, guys. We find that early on in the season now, because of just the way that the offseason programs are in place, they're really like week 1, week 2 is kind of like game 5, game 6 of the preseason, right? There's still a lot of learning. So with your SiriusXM accounts, obviously when you're not listening to the SiriusXM fantasy channel, which Rosterwatch is live broadcasting right now, go listen to them after you get off here. But moving to chains with Pat Kerwin and Jim Miller on SiriusXM NFL Network, they were talking about how last week sacks early on in games happened a lot, whereas by the fourth quarter, defenses were gassed and they just were not getting to the quarterback. And so you add into the fact that you're going up to Mile High City in Denver, and it's a real thing, man. People get tired. Like, the elevation is a real thing, and that just puts a lot of pause on any of these skill position players. And in that case, I'm going to defer to Tyrell in this. You just have to.
You have to. And guys, we have a lot of questions. A lot of you guys, we are working our way there. This is a 2-hour game day edition presented by the Flex Network, also presented by @Rosterwatch on Twitter, SiriusXM. Follow them, give them a like, a comment, a follow. Give us a like, comment, and follow, guys. Here we are. A pro membership at Rosterwatch, cheaper than a fair trade cup of coffee. It is the least expensive fantasy content that you could purchase out there next to ours, because ours is free. Ours is free right now. Become a pro member. Go ahead, Says.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, and don't mistake that the price on Rosterwatch being a low price for a quality of content. They are doing it to making sure that they're getting people coming in. So, because sometimes when we go to the supermarket or any market and we see 2 items and one is priced a little lower than the other, we're like, oh, this must not be as good. That cannot be further from the truth. This is just a way for them to give back and to get you to come in to sample their product. I myself started sampling their product I've been a pro member for a handful of years now, and it really has changed my game. And I consider myself to be at least better than an average fantasy football player. They attack it from all different angles and have these tools that all help confirm what your opinions are. And they help you become a better fantasy player. They don't just make decisions for you, say, hey, start this guy, don't start that guy. They teach you how to actually go through that process and make better decisions. And that's how all of us became, I would say,
family.
The family, but prolific at making these decisions because we follow the process that they laid out.
Hey, right here, Brad Taylor. Thanks, guys. Flex. Yes, thanks, Brad. Let's get back
baby.
to Manny Fresh. other league PPR, Chris Thompson, Devin Singletary, or John Ross III. Again, guys, some of these questions are really hard to know without, knowing your starting lineups, knowing who you got. I really like Chris Thompson this week. Going against Dallas, I think that Dallas is going to come out and flex again, and I think especially if the Washington Redskins play against Dallas like they played against Philadelphia, then we have a potential game coming up into the 60-point realm here. I don't know what the over-under is. If somebody can get it, but 47 points as your over-under. Yep. You have Washington Redskins here on the matchup tool as a number. Oh, geez, it's bad across the board for wide receivers, running backs, and quarterbacks against Dallas. Dallas is coming up as just a strong team.
Yeah.
I see a lot of dump offs to Chris Thompson. I see a lot of them, but you got Devin Singletary, John Ross III. The issue with John Ross III really is it's 1 week of production after a whole career of being non-existent. Personally, for me, it's a little too risky to just throw him in there, but says, I mean, am I wrong on that? I mean, I know like the guy maybe has just been warming up. He's been cooking the bun in the oven. He's ready to go. John Ross, or are we going to go maybe with the PPR running back options as a Chris Thompson or a Devin Singletary here?
Yeah, all these are good options, but they all represent different levels of risk, like you just alluded to. John Ross, I mean, he finally looked like the 9th overall pick that he was. There's, sometimes like a talented wide receiver who's stymied in a dead offense, which is what the case was in Cincinnati the last few years. They get unlocked. This is Zach Taylor's new Cincinnati exciting offense, and he just looked explosive. So I'd say the upside play is there. Devin Singletary, people are pointing to his rookie debut where he only got, a handful of work in the second half. But in the second half, it worked. I mean, he had incredible yards per carry. And if that's what worked, remember, Buffalo was getting their ass kicked the whole first half, and then they came back and won when they started using Devin Singletary. So I expect a very healthy dose of him today. I probably would play him. If you're in a pinch, there's no better, safer floor running back right now than Chris Thompson. He's going to get some passes thrown his way. So again, I would probably go Singletary, John Ross if you can tolerate a little more risk, and if you just want to go the pipsqueak way and just get about 10 PPR points with the chance for a touchdown, nothing wrong with Chris Thompson.
So basically, we're going to just flex, and we're going Devin Singletary this week in the flex. Now, Salsa King, hopefully Salsa King is a true king of salsa. Do you think that's salsa dancing or chips and salsa? We don't know. He needs to play 2 of the following: Sony Michel, Kerryon Johnson, Devin Singletary, or Chris Thompson. Again, with the Chris Thompson, Devin Singletary conundrum here. I think that's a big play this week is Devin Singletary, Chris Thompson. Here's the thing. I might go Singletary Thompson over Sony Michel, Kerryon Johnson. What do you think, Shane?
Oh my God, this one's tough. Well, I mean, I think until further notice, like Kerryon Johnson, he's a flex play at best, right? So I think just with that Detroit offense, we don't know what they're doing with him. I would not play Kerryon in this case. So then it comes down to would I rather play Devin Singletary or Chris Thompson? We already decided we want Singletary. To me, I think you got to get Sony Michel in with that high over under. I know that there's always risk, and we just talked about this to start the show, right, with the Rex Burkhead conversation. But to me, Sony Michel, he's still going to be the starting running back in this game that's expected to be extremely high scoring for the Patriots. And I think that he's going to be in good position to get that goal line work. And I'm playing Sony Michel.
I think maybe you're right. It says, is the play here where maybe we go with a nice floor play in Sony Michel and then go with a nice upside play in Devin Singletary as our 2 of the 4 here? Or what's your input here?
The problem we learned last week, what's the floor for Sony Michel? It's 0. That's the problem.
You're right. We just flex.
Okay, but look here. Let's look at the Vegas tool at rosterwatch.com, and the line for Sony Michel is 74 rushing plus reception yards with minus 200 odds for a touchdown.
Okay, so I just want to stop you there, and that's a good point. When you looked at the Rosterwatch Vegas tool, what they did was they took the Vegas props from the top sports books. So just to make sure that all the listeners understand that a -200 to score is an excellent chance. That means he's a 2-to-1 favorite. That means if you went to Vegas and you'd have to put down $200 in order to get your $200 back and just $100. Normally it's a 1-to-1 bet. If you bet $100, you win $100 plus your $100 back. This means you'd have to put down double. So Vegas is saying he's got a better than average. He's got a double than average chance to score. So they think Sony's getting in the end zone. Yeah. See right there's a difference. Now, if the Rosterwatch Vegas tool is telling me that I have a -200 chance to score, I go for Sony. I didn't realize that.
I'll just read off the Chris Thompson line real quick. So they're basically saying that he's going to get 4 receptions for combined 46 rush plus reception yards, and he's plus 275 to score. Chris Thompson.
So plus 275 means he's a huge long shot to score. It means he's likely not going to score.
Yeah, because if they're on the goal line, they're going to give it to Adrian Peterson all day, baby.
Yeah, and then they have Devin Singletary as just 2 receptions plus rushing plus receiving yards at 58 with a 150 plus 150 touchdown. Although he's a better value in DFS.
That's
honestly,
based on price.
Based on price, obviously. But he's got a very similar. I'm going to say we're going to go back to again. We're going to go Sony Michel, Devin Singletary. Yeah. Are we all in agreement here?
Yeah. I think so. You want to read off the Devin Singletary line real quick?
No. So 0.5 PPR. He's got this is Big Dave 324X. Thank you, Big Dave, for joining us this morning. Sorry it took us so long to get to the question here.
Is that Big Dave's pant size, 324X? I mean, is that why...
It's big, something size, Big Dave. They call him Big Dave for a reason here.
Big in the pants. Big in the pants.
Long in the tooth. Big Dave here. Half-point PPR, 12 team. He starts 3. He's starting 3. Alshon Jeffrey, Josh Gordon, John Ross, DK Metcalf, and our first Mecole Hardman comment. And the key here is 0.5 PPR. So to me, it's how much percentage am I going to say that one of these guys is going to definitely get a touchdown? Okay. That's, to me, every time I look at anything half-point PPR or standard, I look at the touchdown odds. Are we in agreement there that we're more efficient for a touchdown and a half-point PPR, and then we calculate the receiving upside?
Yes. So touchdown and yardage. So we don't care about like the Jamison Crowder type that gets 25,000 catches for 99 yards. We care more about the Deshaun Jackson types that get 3 catches for 99 yards because
2 touchdowns.
Right. So Hardman would be a good example of someone like that, where we expect long passes and a lot of yardage potentially, whereas the number of catches, it plays less point. Now, 0.5 is not 0. It's not standard.
0.
Right. So I would say you're slashing the difference. But what, in my experience from analyzing this stuff and all the information that I've seen on Rosterwatch's website, is that 0.5 is closer to standard than it is to PPR.
Exactly. And to be honest, I think we kind of have to throw DK Metcalf off this list. Is that we're all in agreement there? Josh Gordon, Antonio Brown coming back this week. I'm just a little bit nervous. Just nervous of the game, nervous of this being a trap game. Not that New England's going to lose the game. They're definitely going to win the game, but I just think it's a trap for anything other than potentially some running backs. And maybe and go ahead, says that's how I feel. This is how I
winning the game. Well, this is
Anaconda.
We better hope they win the game.
Yeah, we have them. Just a full disclosure, we pick New England in our survivor pool this week, where you have to pick one team to win every week, regardless of the spread. But what's really dangerous about this game, and I either dreamt this stat. This is unconfirmed. But I see that New England is like 1-9 in the last games.
Yeah,
1-9 in Miami. So
I think it's 26.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is, it's very bad winning record, and I think that the sharp betting play this week is going to take Miami and take the 19 points. Now, what's really interesting is that we have them in Survivor, but you can thread that needle. I mean, because it's a wide gap. You could take New England in the points Miami in the points from a betting perspective, and New England in Survivor, and hit both. I mean, I could see a situation where New England wins by like 17.
That okay.
well,
are we going Josh Gordon?
Start 3. So to me, it's obvious. So like we're starting Alshon Jeffrey for sure, right? That's a lock. You don't think Josh Gordon is a lock? To me, it's a conversation between John Ross and Mecole Hardman.
See, I have it. All right, give your. You know what? Just rattle off your 3 because I think my 3 are going to be a little different than yours. So just rattle off your 3, and then we can come back and give your rationale why.
For me, it's Alshon. Okay, Matt, you go.
So go ahead, Shane. Go ahead.
I was going to say, for me, it's Alshon, Josh Gordon, and I'm going to flex with Mecole Hardman. Okay. I think that you're going to step him, put him right into that Tyreek Hill role. I mean, he was one of my flex plays this week. I think that he's going, like, you can pretty much book a touchdown in that Oakland game. And John Ross, man, like, yes, he went off last week, but I think that the situation was, with Seattle, with they don't have the best secondary, and he was not facing the number 1 coverage. So I think that John Ross, I think people are going to get upset by him this week. So to me, I'm going for the touchdown with Mecole Hardman.
I'm going Alshon, Josh Gordon, and Mecole Hardman as well. Says, go ahead.
I have irrational disdain for Alshon, so he's not in my grouping here. I'm going to go Josh Gordon because I think that he's going to be the primary receiver in this game tonight. John Ross, I really liked what I saw. He passed an eyeball test. He just showed something that he hadn't showed in the last couple of years, and I don't think that anybody in the league can stay with him. He might potentially be the guy they double team today, but I think he can get past it. And I'm in full agreement with Shane that Hardman was the sneaky guy to pick up this week when everyone was spending 30+% of their fab on all the other receivers. I was able to pick up Hardman for single-digit fab everywhere, and that's the guy I think that's going. If he wasn't picked up, is going to go for the 30% this week. Right. So Gordon, Ross, Hardman for me.
Okay, and again, tune in, guys. Flex Network runs a Flex Finder podcast on Friday nights live. Andrew Carasquillo, I see your comment. You have 3 questions. Just post them, brother. We'll get to them. Salsa King, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for what you do. Thank you, Salsa King. I really do appreciate it. Right here. Wow, Flex Matt with a fancy shirt.
Always.
Yes, I do. You're lucky.
Check out our fancy shirts, baby.
Look at that. Flex Network t-shirts coming up on the year. Guys, we're getting to these questions. I'm so sorry. Al Bruno, good morning, brother. Good problem to have. Brady or Ryan? That's a tough question this week. I've gotten a lot of it. To me, it's not Brady. To me, I'm just really? I believe that Rex Burkhead is going to take this game over. That was my flex play, my deep flex play this week. I think Rex Burkhead is going to take the game over. I think it's a trap for Brady this week. I'm still starting Brady. I don't have Matt Ryan, but over Matt Ryan, I'm going to go Matt Ryan this week to kind of have a bounce back game. Wasn't real great, wasn't real hot last week. Matt Ryan, according to Rosterwatch's opponent versus quarterback matchup tool, has the number 2 matchup on the week for opposing quarterbacks. Obviously, Tom Brady number 1, but again, I think the game stay on the ground with Rex. Go ahead, says Brady or Ryan.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. I couldn't add anything extra to that. Matt Ryan is in a good bounce back spot, and it appears that even if the New England gets off to a hot start, they're going to want to just run it with their whole stable of running backs. Brady I could see a game where Brady has a good game, 220 yards, maybe just 1 touchdown though.
One touchdown, yeah.
I agree. I can't add anything more than what you said.
Okay, Matt Ryan, that's it. Drunken Irishman. What's up, man? Are you the guy that got clocked by Conor McGregor in the bar? Jeez, who should I start? Brady, Kyler Murray, or Big Ben? That is a tougher question, mainly because that's a great question. And if you're having that question, hopefully this is a super flex because there's no reason why you have 3 quarterbacks in a 1 quarterback league like this here. But let's go ahead and look up Arizona, number 32. The worst ranked matchup against opposing quarterbacks against Baltimore, although I do believe their cornerback is out. So
isn't Arizona? Who's Arizona playing today? You said
Baltimore.
Right.
Baltimore.
Right, and that defense is pretty stout. You can see a situation where Kyler Murray has a bad game. I mean, I think you'd cross him off. And then Brady, for reasons we just said, Big Ben at home, and everyone likes them in a big bounce back spot here. You're not like thrilled to start Ben because of last week, but I think he's in the best position to succeed.
Well, Rosterwatch has the matchup at the 8th matchup on the week. Big Ben needs a bounce back. He's at home. Big Ben splits on the road are for real. Yep. Guys, every single time we say, oh, Big Ben, he's on the road, watch out for him, but we're still stopping him or we're still starting him. Please, guys. I mean, again, Big Ben on the road is a real thing. He's a trap on the road. He's back home. Seattle has a great number 1 quarterback. I live in Seattle. Trey Flowers is a better corner than John Ross made him look like last week. So I am a little bit hesitant still, but I would say right here it's easily Brady or Big Ben. Brady for floor if you need to win your game, if you need 20 extra points, go ahead with Big Ben. I think that's the play there. John Steen, he needs a tight end to replace
Stein,
Hunter.
not Steen.
Steen.
I mean, take it from the Jewish guy from New York. It's Stein.
Okay, it's Stein from the Jew from New York.
Right.
John Stein, thank you, brother, waking up with us this morning. Man, we've already rattled through 45 minutes of this. This is great. Thank you so much. Need a tight end to replace Hunter Henry. Scraping the bottom of the barrel. Throws a lull in there. Yep, we all are. The Colts guys or Will Dissly. The Colts guys or Will Dissly. That's who is left there. Is there not a Shaughnessy from Jacksonville here?
No, I got one for him. Look even a little deeper. See if my guy Tyler Higbee is there. And the rationale that we gave before is that Tyler Higbee was paid this offseason like a top 10 tight end. I know everyone loves Gerald Everett on the Rams, but they are designing red zone plays for Tyler Higbee. Now, it's probably going to be a 3 reception for 30 yards on most weeks, but I would say he's probably like a 65% chance to score every week. So you might
hold on. So this was like a 3-part comment. Okay, so he said between the following players, Trey Burton, Dallas Goedert, Mike Gesicki, Kyle Rudolph, Jason Witten, Tyler Eifert, Virgil Green, the Colts guys are Will Dissly. He also goes on to say, going to work a trade next week, so need to plug someone in for day. It's a 0.3 PPR, so it's mainly standard. But again, I think we harken back to what our guru, the season-long Szechuan sauce, the Jew from New York, at Alan Seslowski says, there's got to be a Tyler Higbee out there on your waivers. Please get up and go pick up Tyler Higbee. But let's say that Higbee's gone, says, and we're all Eifert, right?
Yeah.
I would say
while he's healthy, squeeze all the juice out of that lemon.
Here's the thing about Eifert. Go ahead, Shane. Go ahead.
I feel like Eric Ebron, is he not even in consideration if he's available?
No, he's probably rostered. No, he's probably on someone's roster.
He says the Colts guys.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Well, I don't think if he's. I think what he meant by Colts guys is like anybody else but Ebron.
Well, you know what?
That's fine. That's fair to know. But I mean, if Ebron's out there, to me, he's the most locked to get a touchdown out of all of these guys. And in that case, in a 0.3 PPR, you're going for the touchdown upside. So to
check the Vegas prop tool to see.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Keep going, Shane. Let's. I'll find it for you.
So basically, I mean, like we saw what he did last year. Yes, that was with Andrew Luck, and now he's got Jacoby. But I think that it worked last year, having that tight end in the offense. And I think that he's going to get in the end zone. If anybody out of any of these like kind of nasty tight ends are going to get in the end zone, I don't know, Al. What do you think? Like, am I being crazy here?
Well, here's the sneaky stat is that anytime that Ebron played and Doyle was healthy, those numbers, it didn't go well for Ebron, including again, it was a different quarterback, so everything changes, but it looks like that Jacoby Brissett is locked on to the receivers, and now they're going to try to get Paris Campbell and Deion Kane a little more run today.
Devin Funchess is out too. Like the touchdown started Devin. Well,
scratch him off. I don't think he was.
Said Ebron was available. Trey Burton is there. I get it. I mean, we understand.
Burton's hurt.
Yeah. Here's the thing. This is just a trashy question to start with. Let's say maybe is Vernon Davis got to be off the board there.
Eifert.
I think we go Eifert. Yeah, we go Eifert.
I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that.
You're not going to have any. I mean, look, Eifert, while healthy, is a viable part of a good offense, a Zach Taylor offense that likes to throw to the tight end. So You're going to get 8 to 12 fantasy points. Just he's going to get 5 catches for 50 yards, and he may fall into the end zone today. If he can make it through the day without being brutalized. So,
all right, moving on. Varun Vedanthem. We love this guy. He commented last week. Will T.Y. Hilton or Devontae Freeman flex spot? Definitely not going Devontae Freeman this week for me personally. I don't want to throw up while watching the game in case something doesn't happen. If you started Devontae Freeman over T.Y. Hilton this week, and then T.Y. Hilton scores a touchdown in the first quarter, you're gonna break your TV in half. And that's the type of sit-start questions that I never want to be behind. I never want to be behind the answer is, if I start this guy, am I going to break my TV when what happened last week just continues to happen? And I'm going to go T.Y. Hilton this week. Shane, what do you got?
No, I'm in agreement with you. I actually have not the identical question, but I've got a flex idea of Devonta Freeman or Tyrell Williams. And you know what? Philly is stout on the ground. And I think that the way that Atlanta is going to win is by throwing the ball. And so, yeah, it kills me a little bit. But Devonta Freeman had a dud last week. He's going up against a stout Philly defensive line this week. I would go T.Y. Hilton.
T.Y. Hilton is definitely the play there. Let me tell you guys, we're at 50 minutes here. Rosterwatch ending their Sirius XM show in about 9 minutes here. Hopefully Byron Lambert of Rosterwatch hops on here, helps us out with these calls from Sirius XM. Give them a like, a follow, a Twitter, do mobilize and unite. That is what it is. Mobilize and unite. Go get a pro membership for cheaper than a fair trade cup of coffee. We have Texas Eagles here. Brother, what's up? Thank you for coming on last week. You're here this week. He has Philadelphia's defense versus the Falcons. Should I go pick up the Bills defense for this week? Yes, you should. 100% Bills. And guys, we have a doctor. His name is Jesse Morse. He's going to be on the podcast. We retweet his injury reports. He's a real life doctor. He can help us out with this. He loves the Bills defense this week. If you listen to his Start Shit show, he loves the Bills this week. I think we all do.
This is the week that Eli Manning takes a KO punch. And when I mean a KO punch, I mean the Bills are going to brutalize him so bad, not physically, to the point where he's already looks bad. He's looked bad for 3 years, but to the point where there's just going to be an overwhelming groundswell for Daniel Jones. I believe that Eli will not be starting in week 3, and that is in part thanks to the Bills defense swallowing up the Giants this week. If you can get them, plug them in. Double-digit fantasy points are on the way.
Right here, we got, remember Big Dave 324X from earlier. He asked us about Alshon, Josh Gordon, or John Ross, DK Metcalf, Mecole Hardman. After we selected, here he goes. He came back with a DK's reach advantages at 5 inches.
And
that's
not code for anything, right?
That's not code for anything. He goes on to say, thanks, gents. We actually just made it harder for him. Of course, man. Of course we do. I mean, honestly, in the end, you guys are all your own fantasy analysts when it comes down to it. And that's why we love the game of fantasy football. We're here to just create the analysis out there, and hopefully, and he says right there, great analysis. So that's, thank you. We believe that we can help you flex on your league mates this year. We got our brother Clipboard Jesus here, Jordan Howard. I would assume that's Jordan Howard or Kenyon Drake. And I'm gonna let Cez answer this one.
No. Actually, this may or may not surprise you, but Kenyon Drake. Now, if the Dolphins are trailing as much as we anticipate they're going to be, I mean, we think this could be a bloodbath early and often. That they're going to have to pass the ball, and their best pass catching running back is Drake. And if we remember, Drake slaughtered them last year, scored the game-winning touchdown, broke Gronk's ankles in half, and caused him to retire. Drake is a really sneaky. It's going to be ugly. So just remember, you might be sitting there watching this game, and Kenyon Drake might have like 4 points through 3 quarters. But I firmly believe he's going to end up with a 12 to 15 pointer with upside for more. I could see a situation where Drake has 8 catches for 80 yards, and whatever else you get after that is pretty much gravy.
Kenyon Drake, I mean, we call it the Patriots optimism. Any team coming to play the Patriots in the week, automatically they have to get a boost. They have to get a playtime boost. They have to get what do you call it? Just every team wants to beat the Patriots. Every team wants to play Tom Brady and destroy them and be that one. And so last year, Kenyon Drake flexed on the Patriots. And if you got to decide between Jordan Howard or Kenyon Drake, I mean, you have to go wheels up for Kenyon Drake. Hindu Kush, he doesn't even give us anything. He goes Landry, Josh Gordon, Jamison Crowder, Christian Kirk, Sutton, Marvin Jones, and Geronimo Allison.
I could add some light to this question because this is someone from the DFS Army, which, by the way, it's great spot with great DFS tools as well. So check them out over there. But Hindu Kush asked this question in the DFS Army Slack chat, and he wants you to pick 3 of these guys.
3.
Okay, so 3 out of Landry, Josh Gordon. Okay, so Landry, Jamison Crowder, I think are high ends on this list here. Josh Gordon, Christian Kirk, and Cortland Sutton, I believe, are the decision of who is number 3 in my eyes. And I actually like Christian Kirk this week as a flex play, only because, hold your nose, okay, although Baltimore's defense, we referenced this before, Rosterwatch has it as their worst matchup on the week against opposing quarterbacks. But I do think that with their corner and their middle linebacker are both out of the game this week, which could present some more opportunities than we think. But I do like Cortland Sutton too. So to me, it's going to be Landry, Jamison Crowder, and then a decision between Kirk and Sutton. And maybe you guys can shed light on who is it. Go ahead, Shane.
Well, first of all, this is PPR, right, Al? I'm assuming. Okay,
it's got to be. Who doesn't play that way almost?
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so obviously, yeah, I agree 100%. Landry and Jamison Crowder are your locks out of these guys. So working backwards, Geronimo Allison, I'm out on Geronimo Allison. Marvin Jones, I like him, but we saw last week that he didn't have the best game, so there's just too many other options in that offense. So we're going to strike him out. So then it's between Josh Gordon, Christian Kirk, and Cortland Sutton. Just going back to that low like total game points, Cortland Sutton out, Josh Gordon, Christian Kirk, man, I don't care. I might get stung once in a while by the Black Anaconda, but I'm playing Josh Gordon here. I'm sorry. I'm not going to play Christian Kirk against Baltimore. It's not going to happen.
Fair says.
Yeah, I actually told this guy in the Slack chat, Landry, Gordon, and Jamison Crowder, but I didn't see Sutton on there. Sutton, they're looking to get him the ball, and I think that he was overlooked all draft season, including by myself. He might be the, oh my God, I don't have any shares of him guy in my leagues this year. So I like Cortland Sutton in this case, Jamison Crowder for the targets, and then it's really between Josh Gordon and Landry, and I think Landry's guaranteed more work here.
Guys, we love you all for tuning in. We're almost at an hour in. Rosterwatch Byron Lambert should be joining us here soon. We have a ton of questions. We're going to get to them. Guys, follow Rosterwatch at Rosterwatch. Get a pro membership. Texas Eagles, thanks, guys. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate your guys' time. Verun Vedentham, thank you. He says, appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Double V. We can call him Double V from any now. Andrew Carischio. He's got a lot of questions, and we're gonna get there. We're gonna go faster now. I believe we're gonna try to do it lightning round. Donald Laster, thank you for the comment, brother. Antonio Brown or Duke Johnson. For me, it's Duke Johnson. Go ahead if you got something else. I think just you can't start Antonio Brown in week 1. You just have no idea what the heck's going to happen. So I'll take
some people are going to have to start Antonio Brown. Like they don't have the option. They drafted him in the 2nd round, and they just last week they started like Moncrief or something like that. So they're going to have to start him. But given these 2 options, Duke is the obvious choice.
Shane, you kind of scoffed.
I don't think it's as obvious, guys. Like, I'm just going to the snap counts here. Houston Texans, like, do we not worry at all about the Carlos Hyde swindle?
Oh, we 100% worry about it. What I'm more worried about is Antonio Brown just going to be a show pony on the field?
I mean, things like just be like a clever decoy.
Exactly. I just don't know. It's the same thing. If you were asked to start John Ross in week 1, ideally you would say no.
Yeah.
But he flexed. I mean, so obviously there's a high upside to an Antonio Brown. There's a high upside to Tom Brady coming out here and saying, "Hey guys, I'm going to just toss it to Antonio Brown and let him tell you how he feels." So yeah, I get it, but I just think for the safer play, Duke Johnson, but for a sick upside play, if you're already
sick, go AB. If you want to be smart, play Duke Johnson.
Okay, Andrew, we're here, brother. He's got 3 questions. He says, choose 2, Gordon, Ross, Metcalf, or McLaurin. We're kind of higher on Gordon, from earlier. I would say Josh Gordon is the answer there. I'm assuming PPR. Shane, what do you think? Who else? John Ross, DK Metcalf, or Terry McLaurin. I don't think any of these guys have a good. You got Scary Terry?
I would get sick with McLaurin, man. Like I think he's the real deal. You're right. He's got a 27th ranked matchup this week against Dallas, but he showed that he is going to come out and he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver. I think that they want to go back to him. And I mean, I would flex with Terry McLaurin here. Like, let's just get sick.
With his second question, any 2, McLaurin, Mecole Hardman, Miles Sanders, Raheem Mostert, and Dante Moncrief. This one's a little bit harder. Yeah. We would have to say 100% Mecole Hardman would be on my list there, but I'm going Miles Sanders, Mecole Hardman. Says?
Yeah, I mean, what you guys were saying, I was listening while I was just adjusting my equipment here, and I agree with the analysis, but I think Hardman and McLaurin are good bets. Miles Sanders is just going to be ready to explode. I'm scared to start him, and I'm scared to bench him. He's one of those players. So it's between those 3. I probably, second thought, McLaurin I love because he's guaranteed some targets, I think, at this point, and Miles Sanders, you can't bench him at this point. It's got to throw him in there and see what happens.
Well, do you want to look at the matchup tool real quick? Mm-hmm. Philadelphia, number 4 matchup tool against Atlanta. I think that they're going to want to get their new show pony out there. I'd go Miles Sanders too.
Well, we all thought that in week 1 too, but it really didn't happen. We were kind of just waiting and hoping for it. Please, understand that it's going to happen for Miles Sanders, and we think it's potentially this week. Go ahead and pick yours. Terry McLaurin, Mecole Hardman, Miles Sanders is 100% the options. Go ahead with who you think. Marlon Mack or Derrick Henry for all the money, and we are a little bit biased here. Yeah, this is
going to be an irrational. This is a bad. We're Derrick Henry. I mean, God, you explain it. You're going to do a good job.
So we interviewed Derrick Henry's high school head coach, Bobby Ramsey. He coaches now for the Mandarin Mustangs. He's got a top 7 ranked QB heading into ESPN's top 100. Essentially it's a Debbie Watch QB. He's going into Georgia, full Georgia commit, Carson Beck. So we love Derrick Henry, and we kind of said to each other,
tell them where they can see that interview. So
they can see that interview at the Flex Network 1, which is on our Twitter. Follow our YouTube channel, which you're here. If you subscribe or don't subscribe, just go ahead and watch the damn thing. We don't care either way. It was a fantastic interview. The coach was awesome. He said that Derrick Henry is just an absolute beast, and we are a little bit biased. We kind of promised each other no matter what we would be starting Derrick Henry in week 1, and we absolute flexed. I mean, Derrick Henry, if they're ready to give him the ball and the workload, we would have to go Derrick Henry right here. It's biased. We're a little biased. Joey Fisher, thank you, man. Good morning. Thank you. Wake up. It's the game day edition of the Start Sit podcast for the Flex Network. Also in correlation with Rosterwatch. Rosterwatch just ended their SiriusXM show, so if you are joining us now, thank you so much for all of your support. Thank you, Rosterwatch. Follow at Rosterwatch, become a pro member. Snapped counts, touches, targets is a tool. The DFS flex values tool, just to get an idea on player props for the week. The ultimate matchup tool. If you're into DFS, they have a DFS optimizer.
Yes.
Lots of content over at Rosterwatch, but he's got a Mark Ingram or Damian Williams, and Damian Williams is a little scary right now, especially with all the workload that they gave LaShawn McCoy last week. I'm going to have to go Mark Ingram just as a feed the beast. Feed the beast. I'm just waiting for Justice Hill to get his shot in that, but I just think right now with this new Lamar Jackson passing offense, it just has to run through a security blanket in Mark Ingram. Go ahead, Seth.
Yeah, my concern about Mark Ingram, I would actually start Damian Williams here. My concern with Mark Ingram is that if they get up big and they're favored by 13 points, that they could just feature Gus Edwards starting in the late third quarter and early fourth quarter. So Ingram might be off to a fast start with yardage. If he doesn't get in the end zone, you might and be disappointed. I think Damian Williams still, until proven otherwise, has a high pass catching floor. I would be wary of Mark Ingram with the spread being so big.
Andrew, I need to bring this guy on to pronounce his last name. Carrasquillo. My bad. He said he had 3, but now he's got 4. Last one, Will Fuller or John Brown. We're going Smokey John Brown right there. We had the analyst from early in the show. Hopefully we're getting Byron Lambert to join on here very soon to help us with these. But we got Smokey John Brown just as a sick player for this week. So Justin Jacksa, thanks, brother, for the comment. Wake up, flexed. Get on to week 2. He says, Monty, M. Sanders, Marquise Brown, rock out with your hawk out, or Kirk. Pick one in PPR. He had Winston, Godwin, and Evans already go.
The Tampa Bay short stack, as I call it.
Yeah.
And here we go. I think
look who just walked in the door.
What's happening, boys?
Byron Lambert of Rosterwatch just coming off a slay job on Sirius XM. What's going on, Byron?
Oh man, just staying on that hustle. You know how it goes. I'm sitting here thinking, all right, I got 2 hours to get all my personal season-long lineup set, about 15 DFS lineup set, and get all of my bets in over at mybookie.ag. I personally went in and used the promo code roster this morning, man.
Yeah, I actually signed up for an account last week, and I was just curious of what are your favorite bets on the slate this week? I have 1 or 2 in my mind. I'm just curious if it all lines up with what you're thinking for my bookie.
Boy, I sure am a fantasy guy and not a sports betting guy, so I try to stay in my lane. But just for personal shits and giggle, I'll tell you what I'm looking at this week. I was interested in Vikings plus 2.5. I believe that's moved to Vikings plus 2, so it looks like a little bit of money maybe coming in on that one on our side of things. I don't know what you guys think about that one.
Yeah, that one it's at 2.5 at a plus 105. So I mean that's I don't know if you're someone who likes to buy the half point or full point. That might be interesting there because it's at plus 105 to buy the half point and get it at Vikings plus 3.5. I think that's a really smart gamble right there. The one that really sticks out to me is the Colts getting 3 points in Tennessee. I think the Colts are still like a really good team, and anytime they're going to get points on it, I think they're just better than Tennessee. I think you take the points even though they're on the road.
I'm with you on that, Alan. I've had Colts plus 3 on my list all week. I just don't trust the Tennessee Titans, and thought the Colts showed out pretty well last week in a division matchup like that. I thought 3 was kind of a lot. So I'm with you on that one as well, man.
Byron, thank you so much for joining us here on the co-enterprise of Rosterwatch and the Flex Network Start Sit this morning as we wake up on a game day edition. We had this comment from a viewer here. And this is in, obviously our season long. This is primarily our audience here. Monty, Miles Sanders, Marquise Brown, TJ Hawkinson, and Christian Kirk. Pick one in a PPR. He already had Winston, Godwin, and Evans go already. Pick one, Byron Lambert. Who do you got?
Oh,
he's got to be down, right, Byron? I mean, Evans with a stinker. Winston didn't really have a big game. He might need some upside here.
That puny stack he started with there.
Yeah, I mean, my attention immediately goes to Hawkinson and potentially Christian Kirk with the damaged Ravens secondary and a big come from behind effort with what could be, a lot of late garbage time passing attempts for those Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, Hawkinson in an interesting spot. Then maybe the sneaky one here, I really view this as a potential breakout game for Miles Sanders.
You know, it's funny. We were just right before you walked in the door here. We were just talking about it. That Miles Sanders, I'm scared to start him and I'm scared to bench him. And you're going to be so upset if you start him and he's on. If you bench him and he just goes off. And they're playing Atlanta today, correct?
Yes. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, it's the historic thing. I know they have Deion Jones and Keanu Neal back, so those are tougher matchups for these receiving type running backs, but it's just it's just a juicy game total, potential game script on the fast track. Sanders looked damn good when he got the ball last week, in my opinion, so just could be a breakout spot for him. Maybe it's more of a season-long flex play if you've got, Sanders this week and you need to play him. It's a spot maybe you can I think you feel decent about it at least.
Yeah, you 100% feel great about Miles Sanders, at least if you smoke him if you got him, right, Byron? Smoke him if you got him this week.
Fine with that play this week, man.
We got E-Walp saying, "What's up, guys?" Thanks, E-Walps, man. We have the game day edition of the Rosterwatch Flex Network. Sit starts today, this morning. We got a ton of questions to get to, Byron. We won't take up too much of your time this morning. Damian Williams, Kerryon Johnson, Breida, Tyler Boyd, Kupp, pick a running back, wide receiver, and a flex with a half-point PPR, and he already had McCaffrey and Evans. Swindle him this week. That's a tough one because, again, you want upside, right? So I'm thinking Tyler Boyd has to be the wide receiver pick here. But, Byron, who do we select here in the running back and the flex?
Yeah, so Boyd is my guy at wide receiver. I like that. John Ross he might go off again this week, but feels like Boyd is the sure thing, right? And the targets were good, and that's just a rock solid play. Let me check our rankings here. Then between it'd be Williams, Kerryon, and Breida. Those are the guys that we're looking at here. Give me a second.
Yeah, Damian Williams, Kerryon Johnson, and Matt Breida for your running back selections, and then we need a flex too. So
what Byron's doing right now, just to give you a quick explanation, is he's going to rosterwatch.com. If you're a pro member, what you could do there is check and just use all their different tools, including the Vegas props, which is one of my favorite, to look at what the median projection is for these players, and then from there you have a good baseline whether of what kind of production will give and what their odds are to score a touchdown. So that's a really good measure as well to use at rosterwatch.
So we have Damian Williams ranked as the highest of those three running backs. I mean, they're all in the general kind of like low-end RB2, high-end RB3 plays this week. Damian Williams has the best matchup per the proprietary matchup tool at rosterwatch.com. It's the number 3 running back matchup on the week, and it's also the highest game total of these contests. It's a 53.5 point game total. And I think Oakland showed enough juice last week. It could be at least a back and forth game for a little while. And Damian Williams looks, really solid in the receiving game. So, I mean, just investing in the Chiefs offense in this matchup, I'd say is a safe play at running back. Let's see what Las Vegas thinks about these guys too. So Damian Williams, Las Vegas has projected scoring 13.84 points over on DraftKings. Matt Breida 13.17 and Kerryon 13.60. So they got those guys like back to back to back. So that's when we go to rosterwatch.com. That's when we pull up the tools and we use them as a tiebreaker. When it's this close splitting the hairs, like let's get in on the better matchup, on the better team with the higher game total, and that's Damian Williams. So that leaves us then with our flex position, which is going to be Kupp or one of these other 2 running backs. I'm not starting Cooper Kupp, who, we love him. I'm just not starting him over Kerryon or Breida in this circumstance. So I think we're down to a flex between Kerryon and Matt Breida. You guys are the flex network. Who is it?
Oh, yes, we're the Flex Network, Byron. Of course we are. And so we pull this question to our resident guru at Alan Seslowski. Go ahead, Kerryon or Matt Breida for the flex play in a half-point PPR already being demolished this week from CMC and Mike Evans. Says, who do you got here?
I mean, I know this is going to feel ugly, but you got to go with Matt Breida. I mean, he's in a great opportunity, the better offense right now, the one we trust. He's the lead back. Now, at any point, he can suffer a terrible injury and get up and keep going again. This guy was like the Terminator in Terminator 2 when they were splitting him with the axe and just crushing him, and he would melt, but he would get back up and put himself together. Carry on. I mean, I was in on him as a late second round pick in preseason, but it's just he's not getting the workload that we suspected that he might. And, anytime a CJ Anderson goal line swindle is in play here. So I think Matt Breida is probably the better play. It's the guy that I would personally put in my lineups.
Yeah, and again, going back to Rosterwatch's ultimate matchup tool that you can find if you subscribe to Rosterwatch for cheaper than a fair trade cup of coffee, they have the running back matchup against the Chargers as the 13th best matchup, but San Francisco against Cincinnati is the 8th best matchup, also with a lot of good opportunity for some passing opportunity for Breida there. So we're going to go Breida there. We got Dak versus Watson question in for here for says. And what do you got, Byron? Dak or Deshaun Watson this week? That's a conundrum.
I'm having to tell the trash man to get the hell on over to rosterwatch.com right now, start answering some subscriber questions.
Wake him up. You have to wake him up.
Got a little sidetracked there. Actually, I think the trash man does play like a Christian rock show at a church on Sunday morning. So I'll tip my cap to him on that one, I guess. All right. So Dak Prescott versus what is the other option?
Deshaun Watson.
With a tough matchup in Jacksonville or at home versus Jacksonville.
Well, let's just go over the rankings and let's just see how we have this one kind of sliced up for you guys. Sorry.
I mean, while he's going through that, I mean, Dak might have been again underpriced the whole preseason. There's a real good chance that he is one of the first 4 quarterbacks off the board next year. He has just looked awesome this year.
There's also a chance that he's the sickest quarterback in the league, Dak Prescott.
Possible. The thing is that when Amari Cooper, when Zeke Elliott are on the field, Dak Prescott is a top 5 quarterback. Like, he's showing that. And I think that, this is a real question, but Deshaun Watson, he's so sick. He's just so sick.
Byron?
So is this a DFS or a season-long question?
Season long. This is a season-long.
I mean, you got to roll with the rankings, man. We love Dak Prescott, but that could turn into look, they're favored by 6 points or whatnot. It could turn into a Zeke Elliott. You have to roll Deshaun Watson in your season-long league. As good as Dak looks. I mean, maybe the play here, I'll talk about it on the trade cast in the next week or two, is start thinking about trading one of those quarterbacks. I mean, it's too valuable to have one of those guys on your bench every week of this season if you can find a way to upgrade your starting roster. If that means moving Watson because you're in love with Dak and you think he's the real deal, that may be the mega play there.
The mega play is loving Dak, right, Byron?
It could be. I mean, I'm with Shane, man. This thing is legit with Dak ever since Amari Cooper has come into town. And I mean, I'm just a big fan of Dak Prescott's career and his rise. And I mean, he's just an easy guy to get behind. He's a great fit for the Cowboys. Let's see a little bit more. Let's just see a little bit more. But there's reason to believe that Dak is shaping up as like a legit option rest of the season.
Byron, now that we got you on here, I mean, everybody wants to hear from the pros, and obviously that's going to be Byron Lambert from Rosterwatch here. But we've been getting Antonio Brown questions all day. I mean, let's just first ask you, I mean, if it was you, if there was money on the line, is Antonio Brown being started in any of your leagues this week when you have a decision either against a Josh Gordon, a Calvin Ridley, like this, a selection is, or even like maybe an Allen Robinson or some of the waiver the waiver gold this week, like a John Ross or Hollywood Brown? What do you got on Antonio Brown for today's game?
I mean, I'm starting him over all the waiver wire guys. You're kind of forced to not get too out of step with the industry. You're forced to at least put a decent ranking on Antonio Brown. Man, he's just not a guy you want to put the full-on fade, a Tom Brady, Antonio Brown. And I don't think that we know Belichick and Brady will run the score up, and they'll do it just to get reps with their guys too. Yeah. So personally, I think Edelman could be the sneaky receiver that actually benefits from this situation this week. But based on where you likely drafted Antonio Brown and the opportunity cost associated with that in your draft, in season long, how many better options are you going to have? If you have a Calvin Ridley, if that's a bench guy for you, I mean, Ridley's a player I really, really like this week in that matchup. So, against those Eagles, it was, we saw what like a Terry McLaurin did last week against them. Maybe Ridley could get out and get loose on something like that. But I wouldn't start getting too far off the reservation on that, man. I would treat Antonio Brown as like a high upside wide receiver 3 at the very lowest this week. And I certainly can make a case for, some type of wide receiver 2 status.
So Big Dave 324X has his question. Now, this is a trashy question. He says start 3, but he's got 3 of the 4 guys are all on the same team. So it's like, geez, you hate to start Josh Gordon and James White, but Antonio Brown, Josh Gordon, Calvin Ridley, or James White, start 3, Byron. Is Antonio Brown definitely getting the start here then?
Well, you raise a great point. Some of this is just logic by deduction. If we're not going to start all 3 Patriots, then we have to start Calvin Ridley. And I love that our hand is forced in that direction here, because that's a good way to diversify it as a play that we like. So then we need to pick our 2 best Patriots after that. I mean, you could pretty easily say, just let's go in on Josh Gordon, Antonio Brown, right? I mean, that
double flex.
Rolling out Antonio Brown, Josh Gordon, and Calvin Ridley feels absolutely sick. A lot of people are on Sony Michel this week because of the idea that the Patriots will get a lead and could hammer them. Now, nothing's ever that simple with New England, where it could be Rex Burkhead or maybe even a Damian Harris if he's active today with Brandon Bolden. All kinds of things could happen. I actually like James White. I think safe might not be the right word. I'm comfortable with James White as a play this week. So look, again, if we're going to go by deduction, so let's choose. We're going to have to choose one Patriots wide receiver. So which Patriots wide receiver do we want more? I think the rankings are going to have Antonio Brown, but guys, I'm going to make an executive decision to go Josh Gordon. He's more integrated in the offense. So we want Calvin Ridley, we want Josh Gordon, and then you guys are the Flex Network. Who the hell are we deciding between Antonio Brown and James White?
You leave the tough one to us, man. You leave the hard one.
That is okay, because we're going to go ahead and flex with Antonio Brown. We want to get sexy in our leagues this week with Antonio Brown. We don't want to be the guys that have him on the bench and he goes for 2 touchdowns as just a complete show pony for Bill Belichick in that offense. Moving on, of course, we got our guy Sully here.
Hey, Sully. Yeah, boy.
Hey, Matt.
Go ahead, Says.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, we were talking about something what Byron said before about Antonio Brown, where you drafted him. But say you're in a situation where you're upset, you wasted or not, you swung on Antonio Brown in the 2nd round, but you drafted a Tyrell Williams in round 12. If you're faced with that decision today for your 3rd wide receiver, Tyrell Williams in the Kansas City pinball game, or Antonio Brown, who's presumably in his 1st game in a new offense, where are you going? Because we keep getting a question like that.
Well, I mean, that's actually a very reasonable question. Tyrell Williams. What did I say? I said we could treat Antonio Brown, if we wanted to be conservative, as like an upside wide receiver 3. And we have Tyrell Williams as basically slotted the exact same way. So you know what, man? I mean, God, that sounds trashy. You might have to roll out Tyrell, man.
That's what we were thinking.
Doesn't it feel like
Tyrell?
I don't know. The Raiders don't have a choice, man. He's going to get a bunch of targets. What he does with them remains to be seen. But
well, I think Gruden's a good coach, and what we've seen before is Tyrell Williams, when Keenan Allen was out a couple of years ago, produced like a top 15 wide receiver. And it wasn't too long ago that Derek Carr was being talked about as an MVP candidate, a handful of years ago.
It's the number 5 matchup on the week per the Rosterwatch matchup tool. Yeah, man, I think you can get Tyrell Williams in. Antonio Brown. You can. You can very reasonably make that decision this week.
So Tyrell Williams here, mainly Derek Carr's going to have to score 40 points to get anywhere near a win in this game. And I'm liking Tyrell Williams this week. Moving on to our next week, E. Walps right here, not a sit start, but he's got a roster spot open. He wants to stash either Tyrell, McLaurin, John Brown, Mecole Hardman. I think again the answer here is Tyrell. You just got to be ready for the same type of weeks that we had last week. What do you think, Byron?
Yeah, I'd agree, man. I mean, I suppose you could try to argue for a John Brown, but Tyrell Williams just appears to be the clear option of that group. It's a good group to sort through.
It's a great group. So right here, what about Joe Mixon? Commenter Clay Cole goes, Joe Mixon. Now we heard it this morning from the doc that we love Jesse Morse here. He basically said on his live stream that if there's a flare up with Mixon's ankle, it would literally hurt so bad that Mixon won't be able to put his shoe on. And it could happen in the first carry. And so, Byron, I mean, what do you like to kind of suss out this Joe Mixon injury news for week 2?
I mean, the first thing you have to decide is what are your other options? Like one thing you got to learn is like, don't waste time on, headaches that you really can't solve. I mean, do you have another option to begin with? So I'm looking at our rankings here. I mean, if I picked up Adrian Peterson this week off the waiver wire, I'm playing him over Joe Mixon. So I think that's what we're talking about. I'll probably play Vegas doesn't agree with me, but I've at least cooked up in my mind that Carlos Hyde could be a good play as a closer this week in a situation where the Texans are favored pretty big at home. Could you roll out a Carlos Hyde or a Rams Malcolm Brown, in this situation over a Joe Mixon? I think you can. Could you roll out a Raheem Mostert if you picked him up? Ooh, I certainly think you could consider it, right? Those would be the type of options.
You can play the song.
Raheem Mostert.
Play the song.
Goddamn radio with the trash, man.
With the trash, man. We are joined live by Byron Lambert from Rosterwatch. Just came off an all business edition of the Game Day episode on SiriusXM today. Follow them at Rosterwatch. Sign up to become a pro member at rosterwatch.com. Cheaper than a fair trade cup of coffee. We have Byron Lambert here. Lamar Jackson or Tom Brady this week? Good question. Again, show pony or Mr. Consistency, Byron?
I'm going with Tom Brady, and you guys know I'm on the very forefront of the Lamar Jackson hype club. I mean, if you guys follow the training camp tour or any of those podcasts, speaking of, that's the other call to action I want to make here. We're all here, all the users in here. We're going to start trying to do a lot more things like this more frequently with our followers and our listeners and such. But we really want you guys to make sure that you always are listening to the podcast as well. We're putting out so much good information on the Roster Watch podcast over on iTunes and Stitcher that we ask that you all make sure that you subscribe to that and give it a listen if you don't already. So Tom Brady, you would have heard all that stuff if you had been listening through the training camp tour. You would have known exactly what we thought about Lamar Jackson, and you would have drafted him at the end of, late in your draft, just like a lot of you guys got TJ Hawkinson and such. So, for me, this is just a question of certainty, and I just don't think there's any way that Tom Brady screws you this week. I mean, I'm going to say that, and then he's going to do it, of course. But I'm not sure that Lamar Jackson can screw you either. I'm just all in on Tom Brady at this point.
Do you think there's a Brian Flores swindle? He comes back. He's the defensive coordinator. He knows the offense. Is there any risk there? I mean, we know what New England's record is down in Miami.
Yeah, it's a tough sledding for them down in Miami a lot of times, and there could be that element. Lamar Jackson is a very good. He's our number 2 quarterback in the week. We have him ranked higher than Brady. It's our 2 and 3 guy. I love them both. It's a very difficult decision. I think if you're goosey about any of that, go with Lamar Jackson and just feel fine with it. What I would say about Jackson, having covered this very, very closely, is that, I love him on the season, but not every week is going to be like what he did last week, right? I mean, he's still got very thin, very inexperienced group of pass catchers. That is still very much a run-centric team that wants to ground and pound and really run the football a whole hell of a lot. And, Lamar Jackson, as much progress, very, very promising progress he's made and shown over this last 12 months. And he's been a better passer. We've always thought he's a better passer than anybody's given him credit for, an NFL-style passer. I mean, he still misses open throws to open guys that, the Pro Bowl quarterbacks just would never miss. If it weren't for his rushing ability, you would say, he can't miss that throw. He makes up for it in other areas. So there's still some elements of that to his game. So I guess what does that mean to me is it means that Lamar Jackson is still subject to some, pedestrian or average or mediocre, games. Maybe his floor is still really, really high. But, how Tom Brady with Antonio Brown, Josh Gordon, Julian Edelman, James White, Rex Burkhead.
Oh, no.
It's sick. It's sick.
It is the sickest. And Byron, you're right. If we followed the Flex Network definitely did, but if you followed Rosterwatch all off season, Byron Lambert, again, putting in the work all over the United States at these training camps. And I will tell you, Byron, in every one of my lineups, if I didn't have Lamar Jackson, I got Marquise Brown near the end of the draft. And as we come up here for our next question, Mark Lefebvre, I probably said that wrong. Antonio Brown, I would say Hollywood Brown, Diggs, Josh Gordon, Tyrell Gazelle, Allen Robinson, Devin Singletary, start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. It seems, Byron, that we get a lot of questions about Diggs sometimes. And what I had mentioned to another listener of ours over the week is that Diggs seems to me that one player that is good enough to always be in these conversations as who you're starting, but it's like he's volatile enough to always be in these conversations of if you're going to bench him or not. Diggs being, in my eyes, the highest draft capital as these guys, next to Antonio Brown, of course. What do you think about Diggs just generally in your season-long leagues weekly? Do you just roll him out and start him, or?
Well, it's funny. It's just like one of those guys. We've seen it with quarterbacks throughout NFL history and other players. Those ones that are just good enough that you have to roll with them and you have to pay them, but they're just good enough to kind of screw you a little bit too. You know what I mean? And not to say we've been very high on Diggs since he came out. We think he's an excellent player. And if you own Diggs, I think you're fine to roll him out and start him. And he's going to have his big games. And one thing that we learned in the offseason was that surprisingly, he's been one of the players that's had one of the safer floors and more consistent floors in all of fantasy over the last couple of years, which feels a little bit counter to what the narrative has been with him, with his, when he's dinged up, he's just not that good, kind of like a sports car, you know what I mean? I just see guys on this list, though, with this gentleman's question, I like more, man. If this is my team, I think I'm rolling out Allen Robinson, Tyrell Williams, and Josh Gordon.
Yep. That's exactly who I was thinking. Josh Gordon, Tyrell Williams. And even though Allen Robinson is going up against tough defenses week by week, he's definitely a startable wide receiver every single week.
Think about what Tyrell Williams did to the Denver secondary last week. Robinson can't run quite like that, but he feels like he would be that guy.
He is that guy, right?
Yeah. So... and when you look at least on the matchup tool, though, Denver secondary is not what it used to be in terms of these matchups. So I do think, again, if you go, part of the reason it was difficult to get way over your skis on Allen Robinson this year was, yes, he was still recovering from the knee last year, but he got the targets and he had the big games last year, but he just could never string it together consistently. And so you wonder, we're about to find out.
Yeah, but
we're the same situation this season or not? I feel like this is a good spot to roll A-Rob back out, though, if you've got him, man.
Yeah, we like Allen Robinson because also that he proved that he can be a wide receiver one with poor quarterback play, as he did in Jacksonville. Yeah. And Mitch Trubisky is definitely he's pretty good for fantasy in spots. He's not consistent, as we all know. But this is maybe a little bit better QB play than Blake Bortles so far. So, I mean, if you think about it, if we were redrafting today, who would you rather have for fantasy? Stephon Diggs, who, again, like the sports car, if he's dinged up, is not going to play well. Last week, Kirk Cousins with only 10 pass attempts, or Allen Robinson. I think that, as crazy as it sounds, I would probably, in a vacuum, take Allen Robinson straight up if we were redrafting.
I would tend to agree with you on that. So, all right, boys, I got about 3 more questions here to fire through. So,
okay, Calvin Ridley or Michael Gallup from Donald Laster?
A lot of reason to like Gallup this week because I think folks are envisioning he could do the Deshaun Jackson type of damage to the Redskins that we saw last week. But we have to remember that for that to unfold, it took the Redskins really getting out front of that Eagles team, and the Eagles having to kind of play from behind. And Cowboys are favorite heading into week 2. The question is, can that really happen? So we've got Calvin Ridley as our number 26 wide receiver on the week, with the number 7 matchup on the week per the matchup tool at rosterwatch.com. It's a 51 point game total. And Michael Gallup, we have just a couple notches below that. So both are good plays, but I think if you're going to force my hand here, I'm going to roll with Calvin Ridley at this point, fellas.
Thank you. So Ryan Meager here. He's Degston on Twitter. What's up? What's up, Degston? Thank you, man. We're going to go to his question here. 0.5 PPR. We're going Duke Johnson or David Montgomery in the flex. Byron, your second of your third questions to roll out of here on. What do you got?
I'm glad it's for Degs Dan, man. I love that dude. Thank you. Thank you, Ryan, for being a good member of Roster Watch Nation. I'm rolling with Duke Johnson. Vegas doesn't love either of those guys this week. I thought that Vegas would be a little more bullish on the Houston running backs as a 9-point favorite, that those guys might kind of close out. But that's my theory, and I'm going to stick with this week. And I love what I saw to David Montgomery as a player last week. I've been at the very top of the industry as far as how bullish I've been on him as a prospect coming out. How can we trust what we saw out of Matt Nagy last week?
How can you trust it? That is exactly the answer. We're going Duke Johnson there. And as the final question, getting Byron Lambert out of here from Roster Watch. He's already slayed a 1-hour show on SiriusXM, the Game Day All Business Edition. Follow
Marathon.
Follow at Roster Watch on Twitter. Go to the podcast, download, subscribe, mobilize, unite, become a pro member at Roster Watch. Go to rosterwatch.com, mybookie.ag as well, please, guys. This is from a Roster Watch pro member right here, Byron. Of course, we got to get the pro members in on this here. Sorry, not a start sit, but he just had an offer to send Shady McCoy for Adam Thielen straight up, and that is what we call at Roster Watch a swindle.
What is this world coming to?
Byron Lambert is going to go ahead and say the most take lock answer of all time here to get Roster Watch out of here. Byron, what do you got here? Shady McCoy for Adam Thielen straight up for the Roster Watch member Ted Bell.
Well, that's when you get up, run straight to your computer, and click accept.
Love it.
You click it so hard and you flex on your league mates. Byron Lambert, thank you so much for joining us and helping us get this start sit thing going here. Hopefully we did you proud. We're doing you proud. We're going to stay on here until 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, which is, I started this thing at 6 a.m., guys, and we're still here rocking on the Game Day edition of Roster Watch and the Flex Network Sit Starts. Byron, sign off here, brother. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Y'all are doing a terrific job, and we look forward to doing more. So keep up the good work and be good, Roster Watch Nation. Peace.
Later, Byron. All right, as we get back to this, we've got 20 minutes left. That was so great. Follow Roster Watch. Byron Lambert has entrusted in us, guys. We are here for you, the Flex Network. Go ahead.
I was going to say, for those who ask us all these questions and we provide analysis and not sure who Byron Lambert is, Byron Lambert's one of the guys that it's basically that inspires us, that we take a lot of his analysis and then we form our own opinions about it. But a lot of our feedback that we give you is part of that ingredients is cooked in. It's a lot of his analysis. So follow Roster Watch like Matt's been telling you to do. Shane, you can echo what I'm saying here, that he's one of our our gurus, our godfathers in this whole thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, like he's what inspired us to do what we're doing, and we use all their tools every single week when we're trying to maximize our choices throughout the off season. They go to the training camps, they go to the Senior Bowl. Everything I know about the rookies this year, I know because of Rosterwatch. Guys, just listen to the podcast all year. They're on SiriusXM when they've got draft coverage. They were at the NFL draft, which they were given live coverage as these players were being picked. And they're telling you immediate fantasy impact. So go to rosterwatch.com. Make sure you get yourself a pro membership and follow them at Rosterwatch on Twitter.
You guys, just to let all you guys know, we got a lot of you guys in here. We have 20 minutes left on the game day edition. We're going to speed through this, okay? But just to let you guys know, that was a big freaking deal, okay? The Rosterwatch is quite literally, in my opinion, the best show on SiriusXM's fantasy sports network. Byron Lambert just joined us and graced us with his presence. Now we're ready to absolutely skyrocket these questions. Okay, right here, boom. T.Y. Hilton, or there's a tie or A-Rob? There could be a lot of ties.
I assume T.Y. Hilton.
T.Y. Hilton, that's who it is, or Allen Robinson, 1 point PPR. We're going Allen Robinson. I'm just going to fire my answers off. You guys can fire yours off too. The greatest part about the Flex Network is we have 3 minds here, and I'm usually the one getting the left field. I'm throwing this out on left field. I'm always going to answer these questions as if we're down 25 points already and we need to flex to get up there. So I'm going Allen Robinson. Shane says, let's fire these off. Your picks. Let's go.
Real quick, the reason I would go T.Y. Hilton is because I think that we saw last week. He's going to be the number 1 option in that offense. Until Jacoby Brissett becomes completely comfortable, he's going to continue to go to a safety blanket T.Y. Hilton. We've seen T.Y. He can go and he can always break off the long touchdown. I go T.Y.
It comes down to me that I think Brissett's a better real-life QB than Trubisky, so I like T.Y.
All right, so Big Dave again. We already answered Brady versus Lamar.
Did you agree? Wait a second. Did you agree with Byron that you would start Brady? That was a part. I was really surprised by his answer there.
Well, hey, it's Byron. Okay.
I'm saying I was just surprised because of it. And it was actually something that you guys pointed out to me, that the Rosterwatch Vegas prop tool has Sony as a heavy favorite to score a touchdown, and it could be multiple touchdowns. And, I expressed my concern before that this could be a 1 touchdown game for Brady.
Okay, so either way, again, it really comes down to if the floor plays Brady. If you don't want to get too crazy, maybe you're up 15 points. But if you're down 25 points, let's hope for another rager from Lamar Jackson. I think that's the clear answer there.
Good. At rosterwatch.com, in the QB rankings, number 2 is Lamar Jackson, number 3 is Tom Brady. You're not going to go wrong with either of these guys. I personally would roll with Lamar, but I like to get sick. So,
Big Dave again, Gordon, AB, Ridley, or James White, start 3. For me, it's going, I think we kind of went over this already. Yeah, we already did this one. Robert Woods, Allen Robinson, T.Y. need to. I like Woods and Allen Robinson this week. Go ahead, Says. What do you got?
I mean, it comes down to that same question we just took care of. It's either A-Rob or T.Y. I like T.Y. And then Woods is an every week start. He's the rare high floor, high ceiling player.
Guys, we're going to get through these questions, I promise you. And then I actually remember earlier, I was like, man, how do you pronounce your name? And he actually put it here. Carasquill. It's Squill. Carasquill.
Carasquillo.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see the O. Carasquillo. Okay, what's up, brother? Thank you so much. Carasquillo. Okay, Woods or Gurley, straight up. We're going Woods. 100% Woods. I'm afraid of Gurley this week. We're going to go Woods. Go ahead, guys. Tell me who else you want.
I'm going Gurley because I think that they're going to give him the opportunity. I'm still going Gurley.
I told you, Woods is the rare high floor, high ceiling player. I like Woods.
Okay. Sully, our guy, Lamar or Watson. Watson, 100% was the choice there, especially from Byron Lambert when he came through. You got to play Watson on your season-long leagues. Matt MC, thanks for listening in, brother. We really appreciate all these. Hey, I need a flex in a standard league. Alshon Jeffrey, Devontae Freeman, or Josh Gordon. In a standard league.
This is tough.
I'm probably going to go Josh Gordon in a standard league.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, Kevin S. This is our big dog, Kevin S. right here.
Kevin.
Carry on Johnson or Cortland Sutton in a flex.
Oh,
That's a tough one. Denver is playing. Who are they playing? Chicago. That's not a good thing. Carry on Johnson had a bad week 1. Let's start him in the flex this week over Cortland Sutton. What do you think, Sez?
In this one right here, I like Sutton. I like that they're targeting him. I think that they're ready to get him involved. They made a very high investment in him last year. Cortland Sutton, I missed on him in all of my best ball drafts. I totally ignored him, and it was to my detriment. If we drafted again, is something that I often like to say, Cortland Sutton would be a locked-in 4th-round pick, and Kerryon Johnson would fall into that 4th, 5th round. Yeah, he might get some work sort of category. I like Sutton.
There you go. Big Dave says, thanks, gents.
Thank you, Dave.
And we love you, Dave.
Hey, are we doing any news and notes on the show, or is this strictly start? Because I saw something that came across.
Go ahead. Just say it, man. This is it. We're in the game day edition. Anything that comes our way.
Yeah, and that's why you see me looking down a lot. I'm answering questions in the Slack, and I'm also looking for news that breaks. And this says right here.
Thank you for telling me that, because I was wondering, what is he doing down there?
Yeah, no, I'm trying
eating
to
a bowl of cereal.
No. I'm answering questions are coming in through the Flex Network and on Twitter. I'm trying to do both so we can handle everybody and nobody's left behind. So I'm doing both at the same time. But I just saw that Antonio Brown rejected a settlement offer. He could have had this whole thing go away before the news broke for $2 million, and he said he chose not to pay it out and to fight it. And again, someone that does that, it strikes me as that would be innocent. Something. Again, I'm not going to presume innocent, guilty, this, that. We don't make those. We don't have all the facts, but that is not the move of someone who is guilty to refuse a payout for a modest amount of dollars in comparison to his wealth. So to me, that bodes well for his. You remember a couple, or it was last year that Shady McCoy had that whole preseason situation where there was and people thought he was going to go on commissioner's exempt, and not that he was as relevant as Antonio Brown. I think Antonio Brown is going to play the whole season, and this story is just going to be a distant memory in 3 weeks.
We agree. Omar F. Oh man, sorry, brother. Omar, if you're still watching right now, hopefully next week Byron also will join us right after the show. If you can get in right after the show, I'll totally remember to get your question up first. He just wanted to say, Byron, man, loves the show. Thank you, dude. And Omar, you're part of the nation, brother. We are too. This bred out of the nation. We are a part of the nation. Come join us. This is the same thing. We're up here together trying to do this together. So thank you. And I'm sorry about your question here. Allen Robinson versus Denver or Kenny Golladay versus LAC. Thanks, guys. By the way, I'm loving the pro membership at Rosterwatch. Keep up the great work. I wish I would have had that question when Byron was here, but we'll let him know. And please just come back on next week. We're going to be right here doing the same thing. We're going Allen Robinson right here. We talked earlier about our Kenny Golladay disdain. We like Allen Robinson this week. Barrett Randall, Devin Singletary, or Joe Mixon. Out on Joe Mixon this week. Again, from the doctor, we got a Dr. Jesse Morris. Follow him. He's from the Fantasy Doctors. Says that if Joe Mixon has a flare-up on his injury, he will be hurting so bad that he can't even put his cleat on. And he said it could happen in the first play. And I'm just not going to get swindled by that.
Byron said it before. He goes, all these questions are relative to who's your alternative. And if you have Devin Singletary, who was my flex play this week in our Friday night flex finder, that's a great option. I think Devin Singletary is a top 18 option at the running back position. And Joe Mixon, there's a lot of questions surrounding him. I think that's a Singletary, a go player. Singletary.
Flex.
Singletary, boom, flex. Guys, I think we're going to go ahead and cut off the questions right now because we have so many of them and we only got 13 minutes. We're going to get right through them. CJ, Gordon, or Diggs in a standard league. That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Snap call. Let's go. Snap call on these.
Diggs in a standard league.
Good. Next.
Okay. Big Dave, gents, love that you guys make yourself available for this. Already have subscribed to the Flex Network. Going to hit you up everywhere else. Please, brother. We love that. This is why we're here. Mixon or sorry. Brian Albano. You did it again. Jesus Christ. Okay, follow us at Roster.
Did you hear that's a good one?
Follow us at the Flex
Network 1, at the Flex Network 1. Mixon or Geo PPR? We're going Geo. Mixon could stink it up this week. If you have his handcuff, go ahead and start him. Geo is startable in the deepest leagues anyway. I mean, if you have a 16, to 24 team league, Geo might even be startable weekly. But we like Geo over Mixon this week, especially with the injury, right, guys?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Donald Laster, our guy, Mark Ingram or Eckler.
This is not even close, this one. And I'm sorry to say it so with such an attitude. But, dude, Eckler is a top 5 running back this week. Mark Ingram, I told you earlier in the show that he could be phased out of the game plan if they're up big in the fourth quarter. We could see a lot of Gus Edwards. Do you guys agree that this is an Austin Eckler mega throbber?
Eckler, Philip Giles, brother, thank you if you've held on this long because you asked this question a little while ago. Thank you so much for following us. It's the first time I'm seeing your name come through, so we really do appreciate it. Please go follow us on Twitter, like we're there for you. Geo or David Montgomery in standard. I think this one's a lot tougher than we probably think. I'm going to go ahead and go David Montgomery just because I did like what I saw last week. I just don't know about Cincinnati's offense, even with Gio on the field, as far as the running back. I like it, but what if they really just hand the ball off to David Montgomery in week 2?
Right, but I'm saying Gio he's a sneaky good between the tackles runner. He's not just a PPR guy. Like when they've given him opportunity to run between the tackles, he's been successful.
I think David Montgomery could have 2 touchdowns this week. We just made it harder for you to decide this. We didn't make it easier. You choose. Gio or I'm going David Montgomery too.
I'll make it a 3-pack.
Okay, 3-pack. Sully, our guy. PPR flex, John Brown or Marquise Brown. We're gonna go Smokey.
Where's that Malcolm Brown?
Oh, it could be Malcolm Brown. You're right, but still, I think we're gonna go John Brown either way.
In all cases.
Okay, Chris Puentes. Thank you, brother. Haven't seen your comment before, so thank you so much, man. We really appreciate the support. Thank you, Rosterwatch, for potentially helping. Tyler Boyd or Will Fuller. Tyler Boyd all day long, please. That's an easy one. Ted Bell. Done. Don't know what it was. I'm sure it was a like and a subscribe to at the Flex Network 1. Of course, brother. We love you. Thank you. Kevin S., our guy, epic show. Yes, we try our best to put on the most epic flex shows. Guys, we do this every Sunday.
Come back.
We will have guest spots from Rosterwatch, Byron Lambert, Alex Dunlap, the Trash Man. Maybe the Trash Man.
If we can wake him up in time.
If we could wake him up. Also, I would love to get an Ani Sridhar on here.
Talk about ancillary characters from the show. Ani Sridhar.
Ani Sridhar, brother. We're almost getting done here. We're done in 9 minutes. So Brian Cole, John Ross, James White, Crowder, Hollywood need to says, what do you got?
If this is a PPR league, you can't get away from Crowder. I mean, I think he's a lock for 12 targets today, and I think he'll catch like 9 to 10 of them. Because
White, Ross, or Brown?
Yep, I'm going to go Ross because he is the shiny sports car looking great right now. There's no way. I mean, he's a home run grand slam hit.
Get nuclear.
Yep, I'm going to say John Ross too, just because get nuclear. Byron Lambert with his own comment. Thanks, everybody, for joining.
Nice.
Thank you, guys. Again, follow at Rosterwatch. Pick up a pro membership. We use the tools for this whole entire enterprise.
Pitch he put up.
Tim Eaton comes with a banger for his first comment. 1 point PPR, Calvin Ridley or Tyler Boyd.
By the way, somebody screenshot that Byron comment. I mean, we're gonna have to get that printed out and put up on our wall. I mean, that's just unbelievable.
I got that right now. If you give me just a quick moment.
Because, I mean, who would have thought when we were calling into Rosterwatch and tweeting them that Byron would call into our show? Come on. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Right here, Tim Eaton, 1 point PPR, Ridley or Boyd. I like them both. I'm going to say I like Tyler Boyd better. I like Tyler Boyd better than Calvin Ridley this week. Are we in agreement?
Shane, go ahead. You go first.
I'm choosing Boyd just because I still think he's the one on that offense.
Boyd's in the slot. Boyd's in the slot
yeah,
this week.
Ridley's got a sick matchup, though, man.
I like the. I think the matchup trumps the Boyd. Boyd didn't have a good week last week. He had a decent week. I mean, it truly is 50-50, but something is giving me a Calvin Ridley itch today.
For me, Boyd for the floor, Ridley for the upside.
Yeah, or both. I mean, geez, it's a good question. Like I said, Tim, thank you, man, for following us. Here's Philip Giles. He said, thanks, guys. Loving the show, dude. Thank you so much, man. Follow us, subscribe at the Flex Network 1 on Twitter. Sully, dude. Byron is the man. Of course, he is the
argument
man.
there. No argument
at all. Yes. Andrew Kara Squillo. Gurley or Woods. We already answered that.
Woods.
Some like Woods, some like Gurley. I like Woods.
So I'm the underdog here, so we'll go Woods.
We'll go Woods. Big Dave caught it. All good. Thought I missed it. Thanks again, guys. Tim Eaton again. 1 point PPR. Hyde, Mark Andrews. Rock out with your Hawk out or Tyler Boyd. Again, it's Boyd. It's Boyd of these. I love Hawkinson, and Hawkinson would probably be the other play for me, but I like Boyd. Go ahead, says.
Yeah. No, you said it all there. No disagreement with those.
Boom. Carasquillo. I can say it now. He said, forgot to add John Brown or Fuller. Forgot to add John Brown or Fuller for DFS cash. Is John Brown 100%?
Oh, yeah, for cash, John Brown for sure.
Yeah, of course. Does it make a difference? Sure, maybe. Justin Jacksa, Christian Kirk, Philip Lindsay, Marquise Brown, 0.5 PPR. Also, Duke, Beasley, and Sutton for pick one PPR. Let's start with the first one. Kirk, Philip Lindsay, Hollywood Brown, 0.5 point PPR. I think we have to go Lindsay there, right?
I think so.
I think he's going to get the most share and opportunity, right? Duke Johnson, Cole Beasley, or Cortland Sutton, 1 in PPR. I'm going to go Duke Johnson. What about you, Says?
Yeah, I think you hit it right there. I think that he's the one, the chance. He has the chance. Duke, you're talking about to get. I know his Vegas prop is not what you would want it to be, but sometimes Vegas there isn't a market inefficiency. They get it wrong. I love Duke Johnson. They're going to be tossing the rock to him quite a bunch today.
We're almost there, guys. We are almost finished. Joe Gunter, Adrian Peterson, or Devontae Freeman. I'm going AP. AP this week for a goal line touchdown. AP could literally swindle the entire Washington offense this week. I go AP. Says Shane.
I go AP. It's early in the season. He's healthy. Freeman's going up against a stout Philly offensive or defensive line. Give me AP.
Says. Okay, we don't have time for this is great, guys. Keep it up. Allen Robinson, Mecole Hardman. Don't trust Trubisky. Well, you don't have to. You trust that Allen Robinson was a wide receiver 1 with Blake Bortles. Okay? If you don't trust Trubisky, that's great. We trust him more than Blake Bortles. Allen Robinson, good to go. Jennifer Olstead. Is this Jen? Rosterwatch Pro member 1 point Superflex. Oh, coming hard. Okay. Need to already played Cam. Ooh. Kyler, Singletary. Okay. If it's a Superflex, you have to put the quarterback in, right?
Oh, always play the quarterback, because if you were to rank the quarterback among the position players, even, a bad quarterback day of 12 to 13 points is probably what your wide receiver 2 would give you.
Okay. So we're going to go Kyler just to start. Then it's the second pick is of Devin Singletary, Michael Gallup, Kerryon Johnson, James Washington, or Ted Ginn, Fuller. Rosterwatch has a sneaky Ted Ginn. The DFS prop on Ted Ginn is 4.5 catches for about 60 yards. As a 12.56 upside play today for a very unowned, low-owned guy. We definitely like Ginn, but not over Gallup.
Gallup.
Gallup looks like a star, man. He's another one of those guys that you can be like, I cannot believe I didn't draft him this year.
Okay, guys, we're coming up to our last question right here. Darren Farley, we snuck in, brother. Marlon Mack, Ingram, Kerryon Johnson, or Damian Williams. Which one would you sit? Go ahead, says.
Yeah, this one just came from the Slack chat, and I told him to sit Ingram, but then I was, kind of weighing back and forth with Kerryon. You're definitely starting Mack and Damian Williams. I'm curious to which running back of the Ingram, and we agree with that, right? Mack and Damian Williams, everybody?
Yeah,
and
I'm sitting Kerryon.
Okay.
Kerryon.
Yeah, I told them sitting Ingram, but I wouldn't argue the other way.
Well, here's the thing. As much as they might be up, as much as Baltimore might be up this week, Baltimore might be up because Ingram had 3 goal line touchdowns for some reason like that.
Very plausible. Can't argue with you. Again, just I don't have a good argument why not. I would play Kerryon, but I can totally understand your side of it.
All right, Andrew Carasquillo, I sincerely appreciate each of your guys' time and patience. Thank you for taking the time to deal with our question. Ewalb says, this show is awesome. You're awesome. Here to flex. You guys are awesome. We held a shit ton of viewers for this thing, and there are still lots of viewers. I'm sure everybody wants to comment, but guys, we will flex on our week 2 decisions. Hopefully this 2-hour cast joined by Byron Lambert of Rosterwatch go ahead, Seth.
I was going to say, and hey, Shane, how about props to our broadcasting leader here, Matt, for keeping that energy going for 2 hours straight. I mean, you're a marathon man.
This is when he's calm, guys. Just imagine when he gets
I'm calm right now. I am so calm right now. Imagine me in a couple claws on a Friday night. Follow the Flex Network. Podcast. Yes, follow the Flex Network. Friday nights, we essentially do the same thing. But
Waiver Wire. Tuesday, on Monday nights.
Hold on. Friday night Flex Finder podcasts. Okay. We search out our flexes and our flex plays for the week. But guys, let's sit down on a Monday and let's hash the week in fantasy football out with Alan Seslowski and Sealy_Shane. Okay, go ahead, says.
Now, how describe. Do you do it? I'm trying to point to him. There he is.
There he is.
Yeah, that's Shane. Guys, the waiver wire master, right?
We have a waiver wire podcast that records live Monday, but you can hear it if you can't get there live, because obviously we're watching Monday Night Football, but our guys are maniacal enough to start recording for week 3. So waiver wire pods recorded on Monday, released on Tuesday or Monday night if somebody gets freaky enough. And then right in Friday night, if you guys aren't out there just partying at the clubs, got your hand party rocking, come join the Flex Network for our Flex Finder podcast, where we go over our flex plays for the week. Please, guys, Byron Lambert, they're giving us the rub here, guys, and we just appreciate and love it so much. We mobilize, unite. They are radio gold on Sirius XM. Follow at Rosterwatch on Twitter. Get a pro membership at rosterwatch.com. We use all of their tools to help decide our flex plays and your start sits, the matchup tool, the DFS flex values that get released late Saturday, the snap counts, touches, and targets. And we just love them. And follow us at the Flex Network 1 on Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube account. Hit the ring button if you want to follow it. We're going to be simulcasting this cast as well. So just follow us, guys. Thank you so much, dude. Ewalps, best of luck this week, Rosterwatch Nation and the Flex crew. Thank you so much. One last quick one. D-Jax at Atlanta or John Ross at home with San Francisco for my flex non-PPR. Do we have just D-Jax or John Ross non-PPR? Who's going to catch the touchdown, says from PVJ McLean. Who's catching the touchdown?
His name is Deshaun Jackson.
Shane? Flex. Guys, thank you so much. Go out there and win your week 2s. This is the Flex Network. Follow us.